were no accidents, as parents would say to their children. And now I've lost, no, I thought for a moment I had lost our micro keynote. But Gary, I know that you're going to allow us to resume and continue with Bartlett after. I know there's lots to talk about. But thank you all. At this juncture, we wanted to open your vistas a little bit from the conversations that have been taking place to allow you to see things from a very different perspective. And it is difficult to have a meeting about the Caribbean and for the Caribbean without CARICOM. And therefore, it was our pleasure to invite the director of the Caribbean Single Market to join us and look at the future of Caribbean media and technology and bring us some insights and strategies. So please join me in welcoming Mr. Leo Preville.
Good afternoon, everyone. I assume there was a protocol that is already established. Let's get this out of the way. Right. So I had an address prepared, but I'm not sure if I am able to use it now, having listened to the discussion here on the telecoms infrastructure side and how rapidly this is evolving, and to speak on insights and strategies between the Caribbean media and technology. It looks like you're chasing the ball around the park because it's moving so quickly. But I'm going to share what I have here, and I begin by saying that I was actually tempted to use AI in this presentation. And I pondered on, the ongoing discussion on ethics regarding the use of artificial intelligence. My decision to generate a paper without the assistance of AI is neither here nor there, but the reality of technology is here, and it is with us. The future of Caribbean media is also inextricably linked to and influenced by the vagaries of the new and rapidly advancing technologies. And that is what makes this topic a genuinely interesting one. Today we gather to contemplate the future of Caribbean media and technology, a realm where innovation intertwines with tradition and where the digital landscape is transforming the very essence of how we communicate, entertain, and inform ourselves. As we look to the horizon and attempt to look beyond, we see a tapestry woven with challenges, potential, and perhaps even endless opportunities. So let's take a look at some of the challenges as we see them. The Caribbean is rich. The Caribbean, with its rich cultural heritage and diverse societies, and hence the ingredients to be creatively different, is buffeted on so many fronts by forces that seem to frustrate the best intentions of its people. And in the realm of media and the impact and use of technology, the challenges are no less daunting. The challenges reflect themselves in telecommunications infrastructure limitations in use right now. Are the people of the region exposed to the best and most appropriate telecommunications infrastructure for our circumstances? We see the challenges manifest themselves in smallness of our markets and the limitations this poses for the existence of competitive market forces to drive down telecommunications costs and expand service quality. I pause here because I have a telecom provider, and in my package I have paid for 500 MBS. That's what it's called? Yes. But when I turn on my cell phone at home and I look at the reading on my internet to allow me to do WhatsApp calling, I see 72. 72. So I say, but I'm paying for 500. So the question is, can I go and get, I'm a consumer now. So the consumer is paying for something he's not getting value. What is my recourse? Will someone refund me the difference? Am I able to do what I want to do without the call dropping every time? I paid for 500 MBS. So the smallness of our markets make it, in a sense, make it difficult in terms of using the forces of market forces to drive competition and lower cost. We have unequal access to technology, and there is the perennial nature of the ownership and control of traditional broadcast media and the power of political influence on the content of news. Then there is the matter of the level of training and professionalism of our journalists, and hence the associated level of trust and public confidence in the content of our newscasts. This, in and of itself, has the effect of driving people to turn to what they perceive as more reliable, unbiased sources for the news and information. And therein lies one of the most critical challenges facing Caribbean media and the impact that modern technology is having on Caribbean people. If Caribbean media, especially news, is perceived as biased or influenced by domestic political forces, then other sources become more attractive. These sources become social media, online content from a variety of sources, the credibility of which cannot be readily verified. Technology has also made media instantaneous. This is reflected in the 24-hour news cycle with the blurring of opinion and facts. In an attempt to follow, if not adopt this pattern, media houses have turned to members of the public to send into the newsrooms anything that looks like news happening in your community. Instructions are, just shoot in landscape on your cell phone and send it via WhatsApp. Everyone is now a journalist. How much capacity do editors have in determining the veracity and credibility of what gets to the desks? To what extent is news content verified? Then we examine the context in terms of the stage of development of the Caribbean, and we ask ourselves, what should be the focus of the content of the media? What are the values and priorities that our media should be promoting, if at all promoting anything? Should the emphasis perhaps not be more on content that uplifts, educates, and promotes our people and our culture? The truth is, given the pervasive nature of technology today, our children, our people, are exposed to sources of information that are socializing us in a manner that, which quite frankly, challenges the very core of our value system. Are our leaders, political, academic, religious, and cultural, consciously aware of this? And to what extent is there an organized response to this situation? I posit that in the midst of these challenges lie the potential for positive transformational change. In envisioning the future of Caribbean media and taking on board the use of technology, it seems to me that we must do several things, not necessarily in the order presented, and certainly not sequentially. We would need to harness the power of innovation to overcome the challenges and obstacles already presented, which, as I indicated, is not exhaustive. This means that we must invest in building robust digital infrastructure that reaches every corner of our region, ensuring equitable access to technology for all. Moreover, we must prioritize digital literacy initiatives to empower our citizens to navigate the digital landscape effectively. It is only when our people are knowledgeable of and comfortable with the technologies that can facilitate the growth of Caribbean media that the innovation we speak to will come through. But beyond infrastructure and literacy, we must also address the content itself. And I understand there was significant discussion on content in other panels already. So in this area of digital abundance, the provision and consumption of content are undergoing a paradigm shift. New tools and platforms have democratized content creation, allowing voices from all walks of life to be heard. However, this democratization also brings with it the challenge of navigating misinformation and ensuring the quality and integrity of content that we consume. And here I don't refer simply to news. I refer to all content, whether disseminated through electronic or print media. After all, truth and fair editing of content is the only way forward, given what we have already seen in terms of fallout from the development of fake content and its continued disruption of democracy. We must therefore establish regulatory frameworks that foster innovation while safeguarding against the spread of misinformation. This includes promoting transparency and accountability among content creators and platforms, as well as investing in fact-checking initiatives to combat the proliferation of fake news. The future media, I put to you, needs to return to the steady hand of filtering the truth. How we achieve this needs to be perhaps examined further. This takes us to the realm of designing the content of messaging, which conveys meaning in a manner that connects with the present generation. To illustrate what I mean here, I recall that when I worked in media over 30 years ago, Caribbean media was using the telephone line, radio frequencies, free-to-air signals, satellite networks, and of course, good old LIAT for disseminating print and audiovisual material across the region. There was the earlier creation of the Caribbean Broadcasting Union, the Caribbean News Agency, with roles to support the building of a distinct Caribbean civilization and advancing the value of regional integration. Is there still value in such a concept as a Caribbean civilization? And if there is, then is there a need for a dedicated media operation to support this, not driven by commercial interest? I am biased towards reflecting and referencing the fact that the operations of CARICOM still need an active and engaged media for the benefits to be attained by the stakeholders, which of course also include the media, both traditional and new. We must ensure utilization of both to get maximum reach. Someone mentioned earlier on free movement. Was it Jerry? Yes. And where is it at? Can I ask a question? Anybody knows the date by which the heads give the latest decision by the heads of government, by which we will have full free movement of our CARICOM nationals? April 1. This year. I don't speak of April 1. I said the deadline was the 31st of March. And what does that actually mean, full free movement? And someone asked, I think someone made the point that perhaps full free movement would be the precursor to doing certain other things with respect to telecommunications. Well, the decision for full free movement is that you and me and all of us in the region who happen to be CARICOM nationals will have the right to move and enter any other member state that so agrees to, and stay indefinitely, and be able to seek employment without a work permit. And that ought to take effect from the 1st of April. After the 31st of March. And I speak to, because we're speaking about media and its impact. So what is envisaged here is what exactly? What is going to change? As we speak right now, CARICOM nationals have the right, once you present your passport at the port of entry, to enter into any other CSMA member state, and you automatically get the right to 6 months stay. That is right now. If you happen to be a holder of a skill certificate, and the skill certificate is awarded in 12 categories of skills, if you are the holder of a skill certificate and you arrive in a CSMA member state, you automatically get 6 months, but you also automatically get the right to work. And within that 6 months, once your skill certificate is authenticated, you have the right to indefinite stay. But that is with respect to skills holders. And also, your dependents and spouse also have the benefit to indefinite stay and to work. That's your spouse. So what's different between what we currently have and what is being spoken to? The major difference is that instead of persons getting the benefit of indefinite stay on the basis of having a skill certificate, you get the benefit of indefinite stay on the fact that you are just a CARICOM national. So the issue of your skill level is no longer a qualifying factor to have free movement. And you can travel on a one-way ticket because you stay for how long you want. I see a question.
Question, if you say free movement, do I stick the passport?
You need a passport because someone has to identify you as coming from the Caribbean. It's not for the rest of the world. It's only for CARICOM nationals.
I understand that the passport itself, so especially when we talk about ID card, we have a something called trace in the Caribbean.
Stephen, sorry.
Yes, so, no, we'll get the questions. Now, so, we at the CARICOM Secretariat, we acknowledge the importance of using the new tools for content creation. For example, our online platforms for disseminating information from last week's meeting of the Conference of CARICOM Heads of Government must be effectively used to compete with the plethora of available content. And I speak that way to tell you that even when we speak of Caribbean media and technology, the use of new platforms and the approach that must be used to make the content relevant in and of itself is a challenge. So the language that is used in communicating that decision from the heads, if it has to be on social media, if we have to use that type of Instagram or any of these, the whole nature and structure of what is being communicated needs to change. Can an institution such as CARICOM operate effectively in that space, where at the same time you're communicating, there is need for preciseness in terms of what you are legally saying, so that there is no misinterpretation of what your rights or obligations are. Then we must support the development of local content industries, nurturing homegrown talent and promoting authentic Caribbean voices on the global stage. This entails incentives for content creators, investing in cultural preservation initiatives, and fostering collaborations between traditional and new media. We must also pay attention to and prioritize digital inclusion initiatives to ensure that no one is left behind in the digital revolution. This means expanding access to affordable internet connectivity, providing training and resources for digital skills development, promoting the use of indigenous languages and dialects in digital content. In essence, Caribbean media now and in the near term must reflect Caribbean stories, our identity, and our reality. If this is not done, future generations will consume content which will shape a reality which is alien to their own circumstance. In closing, I wish to commend the Barbados Broadcasting Authority, the International Institute on Communications, and the Ministry of Home Affairs and Information for working together to see the launch of a Caribbean chapter of the IIC. This initiative is not only about future-proofing the Caribbean communications ecosystem. It is about taking action today that will support actions in CARICOM member states to address crime and violence, primarily among the youth who are increasingly exposed to cultures and value systems inconsistent with Caribbean values, and more importantly, Caribbean history and our reality. This is about protecting the future of our people and a Caribbean civilization as we know it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Liu Preville, Director of CSME. Were there any questions? Stephen, you're banned until your panel this afternoon. If there are no questions, I'm going to move out of the way so that we can ensure the space is ready for our colleagues who are now going to take a look at the second half for this segment, which is really embracing the digital future and the Caribbean's role in the global arena. We deliberately wanted to bring a fresh approach to this topic, and I'll say no more than that, but introduce you to two of Barbados' finest creatives, Mr. Russell Watson, who is behind the scenes, kind of, sort of, but on the screen, and a gentleman that I believe most Barbadians and regional people do know. They may know his voice a little more than his face, but he is a spoken word artist and an artivist. And I will invite you all to welcome Mr. Adrian Green to share with you.
Good afternoon, my name is Adrian Green. I am a spoken word artist, arts educator, social commentator, and cultural theorist born and raised in Barbados, a descendant of Africans enslaved and transplanted to the Caribbean. And this is significant because your position affects your vision. Your location affects what and how you see. Where you're coming from affects the story you tell and the angle you tell it from. As a Caribbean African, my story is one that has been overshadowed and undervalued as third world, third class, not classy enough to be classic. The Caribbean has had to fight to excavate its own buried and forgotten historical roots, roots which the modern world as we know it sprung from. When Walter Rodney talks about how Europe underdeveloped Africa, the flip side is how Africa developed Europe, and by extension the Americas. When Eric Williams exposes the relationship between capitalism and slavery, he clears the bush and wipes away the grease to allow us to see the hidden mechanisms of how the world as we know it came to be. C.L.R. James places the Caribbean as an inaugural site of a new, modern, global order or disorder. So when we face off with issues like the digital divide, we are likely to see the ghost of colonialism peeping from behind, and it will be impossible or at least implausible to ignore other issues like climate change, the global economic order, or the distorted narrative of world history. If we are truly interested in doing better than we have done before, the Caribbean has to insert itself into the global conversation on its own terms. We will have to have some hard, nuanced, sometimes emotionally and psychologically taxing communication. It may not always be pretty, may not always be nice.
So in light of this fact, please do not be offended if in the course of this discourse good manners and accepted etiquette are suspended. You may freely splurge on curse words and condemnations after my verbal purge has ended. I have had 500 years of pent-up tears and emotional constipation. My life history is wheeze and I can barely breathe through generations of mucus congestion. And after having to eat my own words and swallow my own pride and being force-fed white bread, rum and molasses, no more lashes, no more lashes. After learning to savor the taste of the waste that the vultures left back, my cerebral cortex has developed a gag reflex. It's as if my mind and body automatically protest against the things my spirit has had to ingest in order to be allowed to exist. So please remember to weave and blob as I lob globs of emotional vomit. Bits and pieces of incompletely digested information will fly across the room. In fact, they litter the nation everywhere. Regurgitated religion, regurgitated political systems, regurgitated educational systems, regurgitated legal systems, regurgitated systems of communication.
In order to efficiently curtail a people's freedom for an extended period of time, you will have to communicate to those people that their condition is the natural way of things. Make them recipients of a diabolically tailored communication packaged as religion, science, philosophy, history. Make it aesthetically pleasing and pretty. This is, of course, after and concurrent to them being subdued violently. This is why the saying, emancipate yourselves from mental slavery, none but ourselves can free our minds, resonates so deeply. It could be rephrased as, communicate the truth about yourselves to undo the ties of the lies others have told about you. There have been heroic efforts by several sons and daughters of this region to change the tone of Caribbean communication. More easily said than done when your communication ecosystem is not necessarily controlled by you, or you are still controlled by the stories told about you. When your communications infrastructure is not wholly yours, when the economics of your communications means you speak to service someone else's ears, you dance and gesture to move someone else's feet, communications for emancipation sometimes has to go maroon, retreat back to the hills of the basic, fundamental, primal technologies of the body and the voice, gesture, and speech.
So it is without apology that I stand here in a tech-focused conversation as a low-tech spoken word artist and say to you that this is spoken word. Not exactly poetry, not exactly speech, and not exactly drama. And herein lies the dilemma. Even though this piece long like a good schoolgirl uniform, it does not conform to the norm of what you would expect to see performed on stages like this one. If this piece had a headmaster, it probably would have been suspended a long time for not towing the line, for breaking rules not so carefully defined. If this piece had a principal, it probably would have get sent home. For reasons as simple as the author of this piece here does hardly ever go on. But this is a revolutionary piece in the spirit of Gil Scott-Heron. But this time the revolution will be televised, just not commercialized because it's not commercial. It is, however, controversial. So it will never become an advertising jingle or a #1 Billboard hit single. It's all about bringing power to the people. And as a great poet once said, we can no longer allow ourselves to be sheeple. So let this piece be shouted from way on top the steeple, from all radios, magazines, TVs, and from all mass media. If you are looking for this piece, you will find it in the encyclopedia, under Freedom Fighter, alongside names like Lumumba, Kenyatta, Asata, Ashantiwa, Bassa, and Nat Turner. This is a mental and spiritual plantation burner. This is a church, and I ring in the bell out. It will not conform, backslide, nor sell out. When temptation comes upon this piece, it will say, behind me, Satan, get the hell out.
Caribbean people have gone through 500 years of hell and come out holding torches. They've turned screams to song, found their voice where it was once stifled, found power in speaking truth to power. It has been said that the Caribbean punches above its weight. If this is true, it is not without sustaining major blows and damage. We need a leveler, something to even the odds, to amplify the Caribbean voice so it can find its power in speaking truth to itself as well as to others.
Do you understand the power of the words that are coming out of my mouth? If you understood the power of the word, you would understand that you have the power to bring down the house with a word. But you know this. You know this because you feel it when certain songs are sung. You know this because you feel it when certain passages are read. You know this because you feel it when you hear the recordings of the voices of certain great ones who are dead. And if you didn't know it before today, you will know it when everything which has to be said has been said. What inspiration, what elevation, what motivation. The word is fuel to my engine. The word is the foundation and the root, and it's up to me to see that they bear fruit in my life. I must make Martin's dream a reality. I must redeem Marley's redemption song. I must decipher Malcolm's X Factor. I must take these words of power and sound and make them flesh so that when I look into the mirror, I see a reflection of an amalgamation of the best that comes before me. But understanding the power of the word, I choose my words carefully. Careful not to speak and broadcast my words recklessly or without consideration, because far too often we are speaking poison.
Less than the construction, cultivation, and communication of new realities. It is the art of reality construction. When we talk about communications today, we talk primarily about the science and technology of it. For the Caribbean, it is also a revolution in the art of communication that is necessary. The symbolic coding of generations of emotions and experiences into contemporary consciousness. This is communications work. This is hard work. This is heart work.
If we are going to bridge that gap between the content providers and the rest, we have to understand that art is hard work. Art is hard work. Art is heart work. A real artist can burn as much calories doing this as somebody lifting weights or doing yard work. Our hearts work overtime, beating beneath the pavement of our chest in time with a rhythm of thoughts and emotions which may be out of step with the times. Yet we step to the line and run when the gun of inspiration fires. And more times it don't be in front of a cheering crowd, you know. Oftentimes it's be in front of a jeering choir saying, art? What you gonna do with art? You can't do nothing with art. You sure that you want to be an artist? Yes, because that is where your heart is. But to them, art is the class that you send students that can't pass math or become a scientist. But if they were to look at it scientifically, they would see that art is physics, because a body at rest will stay at rest unless acted upon by an external source which sets it in motion. Art is energy in motion, packaged emotion, meant to impact upon your spirit and set it in motion. Art is chemistry, because when words, notes, dance steps, or any of the other artistic elements combine, the resulting solution can be an explosive expression causing a chemical reaction when poured upon your mind. Art is biology, quite possibly the most efficient way to study the anatomy of human nature. So you see that artist? That artist is a master who can make your heart beat harder, your blood pump faster, goosebumps jump further across the surface of your skin than cold weather, without ever touching you, seeing you, or knowing your name, make you step back, or sit down, or jump up, and hold your head, and call the Lord's name in vain, permanently stain your brain with his or her personal expression. And even if you didn't like it, you can't forget it, because that artist must make an impression. But even when you've done it, they always got some who would never like to give you your credit. if they open their mouth to talk about you, it's always a debit. You look them in the face, they will deny that they said it, but you see it in the face, plain as if you're ready. It's a dreaded, could make you lose heart. Can't get up in the morning, always a hard start. But if you know in your heart that you pushing hard, push it even harder than half a prom card. Let them pull you down if them feel like them smart. Continue to wear your crown. Let them play the clown part. So you see me? I ain't got time to feel hard up, hard done by hard luck. I ain't know nobody else but I about hard work. I's a Mack truck with a cutlass, olive green fatigues a cut bush. Never fatigue, you must trust, it's a done deal, I must bust. The iron in my veins just will not rust. Don't think that I'm strange, it's just I got guts, I am not nuts. Don't feel I got loose screws, it's just that some people don't seem to understand that these are new times with new rules, and they don't want to follow the leaders of the new schools. So a bad mind make them mouth flow out like loose stools. But if you's a real artist, you ooze electricity coursing under your skin, hotter fire in your wire coursing within, flowing up spinal columns like a cobra with ease, like rods pulling current in the current and swarming like a swarm of killer bees. If you's one of these, I beg you hold strain, but don't strain. Train your thoughts, but don't change. Keep on track and survey the whole range of possibilities from every angle, and wrangle all the powers that you've got to pop the ropes and untangle the knots. What can stop you? If your intentions are righteous and true, and you are willing to work hard and think hard and do what you've got to do, who is giving up? Certainly not you. You's a rock too, an unstoppable object, an immovable force. And maybe you used to be in love with having it easy, but you've obtained a divorce and wed yourself to hard work, not by compulsion or by force, but by choice. And all who don't like it could keep noise until they're hoarse. And of course, you and hard work will live happily ever after. And many people will wonder how you could work so hard and think so hard and still be filled with so much laughter. It's because art is life, and life is the real art. The true artist seeks to master. So what is the mantra? I got to keep repeating over and over again in my mind. Success equals deep thought plus hard work multiplied by time.
When the heart and the brain, the mind and the body are in alignment, when the primal technologies of gesture and speech are respected and complemented rather than consumed by newer technologies, there is no telling what we can do. We have what it takes. You have what it takes.
So the situation is truly, truly challenging. But what else is new? It has been challenging for the last 500 years. Our ancestors believed that we had what it takes to overcome. We must believe that we have what it takes to overcome. Right? We have what it takes, that I have what it takes, that you have what it takes to pull your foot off the brakes of your life and accelerate towards the destiny that is your final destination. And anything less would be a total desecration of the sacred temple that you are, because you are blessed with visions that only you can see. You've been given dreams that only you can make a reality. And to rob the world of your unique contribution would be a tragedy, because you have what it takes. You have what it takes to take those dreams from behind your eyelids to right in front of your very eyes. From the back of your mind to right in your front lawn or anywhere you want it. Flaunt it. Your greatness is not to be kept secret. It ain't like the good cutlery that only special guests get to peek it. Seek it. And when you find it, shine it like a star. A light to guide others like you, lost stars, to their rightful place in the sky. How high you want to travel? How high you really want to travel? Because we can hover like years above the earth's surface, or we can roll up in the gravel. Because we dig our own graves and we build our own castles. So let me know if to hand you some cement blocks or a shovel. One time I asked that question in a primary school, and the little girl said, Mr. Green, hand me a space shuttle, because I plan to build a mansion on the moon. And I don't cool out. I said, little girl, do you really have what it takes to get that high? Or you just a hot air balloon? But when I looked into her eyes, I said, nah, boy, you have what it takes. You have what it takes to shake off the shackles of fear off of your shoulders, ankles, and wrists and dive into the abyss of perils and risk, making mistakes and missteps, but still pumping your fist in victory. Confidence is not arrogance, and though life is full of mystery, we should not be mystified. In the court of history, our ancestors have already testified that we have what it takes. By their very survival, when death would have been an easy escape, our ancestors expressed their faith that we, their descendants, would one day wake and take our rightful place in this race. Firm and forceful, but full of grace. Through your tongues, your ancestors taste success. Through their sacrifices, we are blessed. So nothing less than our best is required. It's time to get fired up and quake all those who would underrate you, so they will never, ever again ask you if you have what it takes. Because it would be obvious for everybody to see that you do have what it takes. Thank you for listening.
Ladies and gentlemen, that is really a wonderful opportunity for us to have done some introspection on the breadth and depth of the mandate that we've given ourselves as the Caribbean chapter to be true and honest to the fundamentals of what we're trying to do as a region and as a people, and using the Caribbean to get its message to the world, and moving from just being downloaders to uploaders of what we create. So a very special thank you to Russell Watson and Adrian Green. Thank you both, Adrian and Russell. So I know that you want to put me in the doghouse. I'm going to cut your afternoon break by just 5 minutes. You're free to get some refreshments and come back for the panel I know everybody wants to be part of. It is looking at artificial intelligence, data privacy, and of course, all of the things that you want to hear about. And Bartlett Morgan is chomping at the bit to moderate for us. Yes, I can notice it behind your mask, Bartlett. So, back in 10, I was tempted to say 5, but no, 10.